Hey everybody, welcome back to the San Diego Gunpla podcast. We're recording today on March 5th, so happy March, everybody. Um, and on the off chance that you're seeing this after March, happy whenever you're watching it day. Uh, so today
Greetings
we're
to the
actually going to be
future.
talking about, yeah, right. So today we're going to actually have a nice little discussion. So today we have a guest with us, um, mystery man, uh, Gabriel Inocencio. I guess is not really too much of a mystery now. But
Yeah, it ain't a mystery now that you said my name, so
The man
hey man,
behind the scene on.
I'm giving credit where credit's due because we're gonna be talking about something really interesting today. And we originally kind of titled this sort of like gunpla and minimalism, but I feel like it goes a little bit deeper and it's more broad of a topic than just
it's more of a
minimalism.
lie, if anything, really.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what really started this conversation was the three of us were kind of talking about how ridiculous that kind of notion is. And when my wife and I first met, Sunny wasn't really big on having collections, but I was. I had Yu-Gi-Oh collections, I had Pokemon collections, I had Gundam collections, I had DVD collections. Um, and when I wanted to share what I enjoyed doing, she kind of fell into this pitfall. And over the last couple of weeks, actually, she realized, oh, I'm not this type of person anymore. I kind of want to go back to my minimalist outlook. And then that kind of spurred some conversations between the three of us about how being a minimalist in this hobby is really hard. It's like
Almost impossible.
it's impossible, man.
It's the two don't technically belong in the same sentence if you really want to be honest.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And I think it might be something worthwhile talking about because uh, minimalism is pretty huge right now. Like it has a pretty big online presence. A lot of people have been going that Marie Kondo kind of like, oh, let's purge out anything that doesn't spark joy kind of thing. But then when you're a collector, everything sparks joy. That's why we have it, right? So then, where do we draw the line and like how do we how do we live in this world that is trying to push us towards minimalism, but obviously we're in this consumerist mindset. How do you guys kind of deal with everything?
Uh, Gabe, you go first since
It's
you've
funny
had to
that you
deal with
bring
the
up.
hardest.
Yeah, it's funny how you bring up Marie Kondo because you just reminded me of that one comic strip. But like, if you hold it and it doesn't spark joy, you should throw it away. And then the guy, the character holds himself, and in the next panel you see him in the trash can.
Yeah.
That's I mean, like that's kind of me actually. I don't spark joy. I'd rather throw myself away than throw away a bunch of my figures.
Nah, man.
So,
I enjoy you.
yeah,
I like hanging out with you. I love you. You spark joy.
what
Spark
kind
joy
of
every time we're
joy?
on this podcast together. So
What kind of joy are you? Never.
yeah.
Anyway, so as I think I'm in the same I think I'm in the same predicament as like a lot of like other people who build Gunpla and whatnot. I am also a connoisseur and collector of animation figures. I collect Nendoroids. I collect scale figures.
Mm.
I and yeah, in addition to my Gunpla, and the everything comes in a box. Nendoroids in particular because in addition to the box, they have the little plastic blister packs that
Oh
fit,
God,
that
yes.
fill out the packaging and protect the item in question.
Right.
Well, the thing of a good small company is like their boxes that they pack everything in are so nice looking,
Mm.
and and like in the interest of like collecting, it's like you want the figure, but then at the same time you're looking at the box and you're like, I don't want to get rid of the box either. And for me, before they served the purpose of keeping all the spare parts of the figures, as quick reference. And that was back when I had like maybe 10 or 20 of them. Fast forward a decade, and now I have like almost bordering on 400 of them. some of them on display, some of them on my shelves, and as much as the figures take up space, the boxes take up much more.
Wait, so
And it got to the point.
how does storage
Go
even
ahead.
work for you then? Because for people who really don't know, we live in San Diego, and it's not like Japan where things are really tight space wise, but still, real estate's really expensive here in San Diego. And Walter, I see your face, so we're gonna get to your we're gonna get to your thoughts on that in a little bit. But yeah,
I know. If I thought my problems were bad, Walter's are just much worse.
yeah. So
It's like he lives. It's like he lives in he lives in the country where space is at a premium.
oh no, no, you're gonna say stuff, Walter. You're totally gonna say stuff. But
Yeah.
to
I
give you
know.
to give the audience a bit of an idea, Gabe, I would imagine your room is maybe about like 100 square feet, right? Something like that.
Give or take, but like a third of it is taken up by a large bookshelf and desk installation that got put in when I was in high school.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, guys, still live with my parents. It's a lot cheaper, and
Nothing
let's
wrong with
face
that,
it,
brother.
if you're in California, chances are you do live with your parents.
So
So,
let's give people like a breakdown of like how expensive things cost here in San Diego. So
uh,
right,
3/4 of your leg and half of your arm.
that's pretty
And
accurate. Yeah,
and a whole future baby, and a whole future baby.
yeah. So it's about, if you're lucky enough, you can get stuff for about $500 a square foot here in San Diego. Sometimes, but average, right, is going to be about like 700 to like $800 a square foot. What that normally translates to for renting would be like if you had a single room, it can go up as high as about $1,000 a month. So that's with roommates. Just letting you know.
It's
So
it's de-
Now, now I'm sure there are, like much more worse situations than what we just described, but it, it's it's not going to be the same for everyone. Some people will have it worse, some people will have it better, but in our case, we try and make do with, as best we can. So,
right, yeah. So
and
yeah, how
I
do you deal with space? Because 100 square feet, you're living at home. Like where you keep everything, and especially all these boxes, because you just said that you had like just anime figures, right? And we're talking about Nendroids, right?
yes.
Um, that, I mean, you have like 400 of those Nendroid boxes, and I'm not gonna do this in metric. Sorry, guys, but it's about like what, 6 inches by like by 3 inches by
the average
I'm going to
box is
guess.
about that
4 inches.
size, yeah.
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 So it, it's pretty hefty, and you got 400 of those things. That's a lot of real estate in your room. So
Yeah.
how do you solve that?
So before I'll get into what I did this past week. So before what I did, I was just stacking them in my closet. And if you get enough Nendoroid boxes, you can actually stack them like pretty tightly together, and they'll hold their shape to the
Yeah.
point where if you stack them up like a library and you take one out in the middle, the tension between them is so much that it will actually keep its monolith, even
Oh
with a
my
gaping
god,
hole in the middle.
Yep.
that's
So
crazy.
yeah, so that was my situation for a while. And then I had to get smart. I started utilizing the space underneath my bed. I put my bed on risers.
Okay.
And then this past week, what I did, because I figure I have two gigantic cardboard boxes full of figures that I haven't opened yet, and I need to get around to displaying them. But like, how am I going to manage the waste or manage like all the spare parts afterwards? So what I did was, yeah, I get like standard Ziploc plastic bags that are big enough to hold all the spare parts. I clipped a end off the box of the Nendoroid so that the Nendoroid number as well as an image of the character is visible through the plastic bag. And then
Hmm.
I just put that into the plastic bag along with the spare parts, zipped it up, and then put it into a flat pack storage container, which can roughly hold about hell. If I haven't really did it, but according to what I saw or from what I did this past week, it could pretty much hold like all the remainder of what I have yet to be displayed, and that's just one 10-gallon flatpack storage container that can fit under my bed real easy.
Okay. I know
So
what you're talking about. Right.
yeah. Now, before that, 6 years ago, I got one of those oh, what's it called? Like it's almost like a separator. It's like it has like multiple clear
Oh,
drawers that you can store
yeah.
like nuts and
A,
bolts
a,
and like all
a
those
part
kinds of stuff
separator,
in.
yeah.
Yeah, a
Mhm.
part separator. And I got like three extra large versions of those that, and I put like all like my initial like maybe like 200 kits of or 200 Nendoroid boxes full of spare parts in there. But unlike my recent venture, I didn't write down what character or what
Huh.
number Nendoroid they were. So I
Oh
so to put it grisly, have you guys seen the Bone Collector?
Yes.
no.
You see, Walter, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
it's literally like going to a morgue and like pulling out a drawer, and instead of a cadaver, all you see is just like two Nendoroid faceplates and a bunch of like arms and limbs, or yeah, just
Oh
like
And you don't know where
limbs
they
and
go.
spare parts and accessories.
oh
And
goodness.
like I could, yeah, it's like I could barely figure out which ones they are. It's like I could see like a face. I'm like, it's like, oh, that's Sinon from Sword Art Online, or that's a Miku. Oh wait, is that a Miku? And I'm like staring at it for like 2 minutes just trying to figure out who it is. So
The,
I'm
the, the
gonna have
great
to
the
get
great
to work on it.
ponder.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm eventually gonna have to go back and label which one is which. But yeah,
So
as far as storage goes, I mean, I've been trying to like deviate ways to actually like make this a feasible goal. And
so
that's and yeah, and that's just the Nendoroids, to be honest.
right. Yeah, and that's so what's interesting is that um you haven't really with your explanation addressed what you do with the boxes yet. You only
Oh,
talked about the parts, so the boxes in my mind, or according to the story, are still neatly stacked in brick form
No,
inside your
he he
closet,
he he
or did
explained
you
that.
tear 'em
He
down?
explained that.
Because,
I mean, I did say that I clipped off a box end. However, I did not explain what happened to the rest of the box end because
exactly.
yeah. So this might hurt some people because I know that in the Nendoroid community, box condition is everything.
Well, yeah, so that here's the difference, right? Okay,
Yeah.
we need to explain this very carefully. You are planning on keeping all of your Nendroids. You're not
Yes.
planning for resale, you're not planning to keep it as a collector. You like the figure, and your personal philosophy is to take it out. Now, for all the people who are screaming at their, digital device right now, I am
Condition
on
is
your side.
everything. No.
I'm on your side. I believe that conditions everything, and I believe the box must be kept in its pristine condition, and you should not open up the figure because that's how you lose value. But not everybody enjoys the hobby this way. And I think that Gabe's way of enjoying it is a perfectly valid way of enjoying the hobby. And if anything, it helps you to save more space. So, what did you do to the boxes, Gabe?
I
What did
smashed
you
those
do
fuckers
to
to
them?
the ground.
Oh my god!
I flattened them. I stuffed them in another cardboard box, and I stuffed them in the recycling bin.
So,
What
so the
was it?
in so all
Mirror
the
Mesa,
boxes though.
Mirror Mesa landfill is
It's in
going
the Mira
to
Mesa
see them. Yeah,
landfill.
yeah,
Oh my
Mirror Mesa
gosh! So
landfill.
you mean so you didn't even keep the outside of the box because you have that plastic filling. I know Sunny took out the plastic filling and she threw all of those away, but she kept the box.
No,
But you
I
threw out the boxes completely too?
He
I
kept the
completely
tail.
threw away all the boxes. I kept an end. I snipped off an end that still had a picture of the character as well as its Nendoroid number for filing purposes. So right now, all of the spare parts of the characters that I have opened or have yet to open are in a Ziploc bag in the storage container.
I need to get a drink. I need to. Ay, oh, that
Hey,
hurts,
I
man.
mean, at the end of the day, if you're not going to be a reseller and your collector intent is to enjoy the figure presented in its actual means, the box in itself has no meaning. It has no, that Marie Kondo sense, sparks no joy.
Right. It doesn't spark any joy for you, so you shouldn't keep it. Right?
You'd be very surprised at how many people online are like hunting for boxes. And I'm actually part of a Nendor group on Facebook, and I took pictures of my recent ordeal, and I
Hmm.
Your
posted it on there.
massacre. Your
Yeah, my
massacre.
massacre. And there were like people yelling at me. They're like, "Why are you throwing the boxes? That's part of the Nendoroid." Or, "Are you selling the boxes? I'll buy them off of you." And I'm like, "Why the hell would I spend money to send these stupid things to you?"
You're not going to spend money because they'll pay for the shipping.
But I still have to like go through the process of going through the post. I was
Is
like, no.
it's more hassle
There's
than it's worth.
It's more hassle than it's worth. And then I got like a bunch of people asking, "Oh, I saw this. Are you willing to sell this and willing to sell that?" And it's yeah. Bottom line is these things are taking up valuable space that I could use towards
More
actually
stuff.
having a room.
Right.
So in the end, while it was kind of hard to get rid of them,
Hmm.
and I'm sure like the trash guys that come to pick up the recycling every Tuesday, they're probably gonna be like, "Oh, it's an anime house again," because for like the next few weeks, they're like the recycling bin is gonna be full of just like cardboard boxes of Nendoroids and Gundam boxes and whatnot.
Mm. So
But yeah,
that's fair. I mean, realistically, right? Nendroids don't take a lot of space on its own, and the
yeah, they're
more that you're willing to consolidate it, the more space you free up. Because
mhm,
let's be clear here. That's just Nendroids. You also have Gunpla. You also have Gundam
yes.
figures. You also have Mecha Musumes. You also have Macross stuff that.
Here's here's the sad bit. All the Nendoroid boxes that I got rid of, they were just taken over by my Gunpla backlog.
I was about to say that's the
So
most common
so
thing to
essentially, I
happen.
just shift. Yeah, so I just shifted everything from like one side of the room to the other. And while I did get rid of space, get rid of like stuff that was taking up space, it was just taken over by other stuff. And
I
I
mean,
just and I just found out that my next two shipments from Amiyami are coming in the next 2 days.
Oh boy.
this
Kids,
is the true struggle right here. This is the struggle of a true anime fan who's trying to like I okay. I'm probably more on the minimalistic route than Gabe is, but this right here, this is a stress that
Wait until you get to me.
I can't.
yeah,
I can't.
kids,
So
kids. This is why you don't. This is why you do not make what's it called, role models out of me and Walter.
Yeah, don't
Yes,
don't.
we might be semi-responsible adults, but give us an anime shop and some money, and we will show you just
Oh,
how rudimentary kids we are.
hey man, you know we all contribute to society in our own way, right? Like I remember um I remember Jet used to say this a lot. You know, you're helping the economy, right? Right? Like that's you're the people who's helping to maintain our capitalistic lifestyle.
You know what? To be honest, I only work to support my hobby.
oh, that's a
That's
perfect
fair.
gate reference right there, man. That's a
Yeah,
gate
I
reference.
that is
the
right.
only reason why the only reason why I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to head to work is to support my hobby and get that new 2B Nendoroid, or or that awesome Fire Emblem figure that like
Mhm.
shows Barja's butt so well. That's the only reason why I wake up in the morning. So
That's fair.
I pu- I put in my time. I serve my nickel.
All right. So let's keep this conversation going between the three of us. Come on, Walter.
Oh
What's it like?
Yes.
God.
You thought I'm
Ah.
bad? Wait till you hear from this guy.
What's it
So
like, man?
as many people know, I live in Japan right now. Um, I'm probably a little bit better off than Gabe with his one room, but I I have a storage unit full of stuff because my house is still small enough to where I can't store everything. And
Okay, let's be
plus,
clear here. All right, so let's be clear for the audience. So in Japan, right, and we already kind of laid out exactly how much everything
mhm.
costs square footage wise and stuff like that here in San Diego. Is it better or worse in Japan
So
for you?
much like in America, it's highly dependent on area that you live in. So I live in the Yokosuka area, which is in the Kanagawa prefecture. I think for my 600 or 700 square foot 3 LDK apartment, I'm paying close to $2,500 a month for it.
Wow. Okay, so 600 square
Hmm.
feet, 2,000
Yeah.
$2,500 a month.
Yep.
That's pretty expensive.
Yep.
So I would say you're in a tighter situation than we are here in San Diego.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
I make
not
the
even a
most of
little bit,
it.
it's kind of a lot. Yeah, right? So,
um, but for me, it's,
but
I mean,
it
I
works,
could,
right? So,
yeah, I work, it works. And I think the thing that gets me the most is much like Gabe, I collect so many Hatsune Miku figures and so many Hatsune Miku Nindroids and so much Gunpla that it's spilled out into the hallway of my house right now. Um, I have, and like I said, I have a whole storage unit that's half full with stuff. I've been cleaning up my room so it's not taken up with all the. I mean, that closet behind me is full with Miku right now. It's all Miku figures.
okay, so a couple of questions that maybe you can address. How
Okay,
big is your storage unit, and do you collect the boxes or you throw it away like Gabe?
so because I'm not displaying, and I'll answer that question first. Because I'm not displaying anything, everything is still in its box. Um, and I typically don't throw the boxes away because I am a high traffic person. I move quite often sometimes.
Hmm.
So I want to be able to ensure the shipping condition of my stuff is taken care of, that they don't get broken by people. I would
Mhm.
say the unit that I have, the storage unit I have, is maybe probably the size of Gabe's room.
About 100 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually like taking a look around my room now just to get like a mental image of it.
Figure your room halfway full with stuff.
Now,
Just right?
Huh?
yeah. Now, forgive me for interjecting, Walter, but
Mhm.
don't you have a room here stateside that still has
Oh,
all like your Miku stuff?
fuck, don't bring that. You brought it up. So
Oh, wait, he still has
yeah,
stuff here?
I
Yes, he
do.
does.
So
What?
I have a friend who lives in National City who has a nice house that I stay with as a roommate. And when I got my job in Japan, he said, "Hey, instead of you going out and spending money on a storage unit, give me 50 or $100 a month, and I'll let you store your stuff, your collections that you still have here." Because he had this nice, huge downstairs, what should have been a man cave, but he wasn't going to use it like that. He was using it as storage. So I would say I'm taking up about 2/3 of his downstairs storage with more Miku and Gunpla. Sorry, man. So
I had no I feel like my eyes, like, I've been enlightened. Like,
I,
I had no idea. I had
I
no idea you had stuff here still.
yep,
It's
yep.
like I because yeah, when Walter was talking about it, like I remember seeing like that room
Mhm.
at his roommate's house, and I'm like, wait a second, he didn't bring all that with him.
Nope,
It's
it
still I'm like
stayed
it's
there.
still there.
Yep, yep, it's still there. So yes, I am
Oh my
guilty of
god.
being a massive collection
Oh
person.
my
I
god.
think we had a discussion about how much I've spent on my entire collection so far, and it's kind of not. It's not really embarrassing, but it's astounding how much I've spent. I've probably spent like $10,000 to $15,000 on all of my stuff so far.
I mean,
You know,
realistically though, but you've had the collection for a really long time, so if you
Yeah.
divide that up by the amount of years
Hmm.
that you've owned it,
It's not that
it's
bad,
not that much, right?
but
Like,
it's
it's more than 6 years
mhm.
out of that
S-
10,000, so
so now that I mean, I'm married to an otaku as well, and she collects. She doesn't collect as much as me, but she does collect stuff. So I'm kind of worried that we're going to get into a situation where we're going to have a huge amount of otaku stuff and nowhere to put it. That's how
well,
that's how
Walter,
it is right
you
now.
can always rent space at my place if you want to.
Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure?
Actually, yeah, because then we can, like, make it look nice, we can maintain it for you, you know? That it would look really awesome, and it would be like a museum exhibit, right? Like, we help
That
to
would be
maintain
interesting to
it,
see, yeah.
and yeah.
But
But,
I will
okay,
say it has been a struggle. It has been a struggle to kind of keep everything together and know what I actually have to ensure I don't go out and buy it again, or ensure that I've stored it properly.
right,
So
yeah.
it is hard to be minimalist as a otaku or someone that collects Gunpla and or figures. Yeah, I've never found the balance that the minimalist way actually suggests.
So, but, between the 2 of you, right, how do you track, actually, the stuff that you have? Because, specifically Walter, and we're not even talking about Gunpla that much anymore. Walter, you
Mhm.
collect tons of Miku stuff, and Gabe, you collect tons of Nendroids, right? So what kind of cataloging would you do for, you know, the different franchises that you're into, and um, you know, like how do you not necessarily overbuy, but how do you not buy the same thing twice or three times or sometimes four times over?
Gabe, you go first because yeah, go first.
so the place that I get my stuff from, AmiAmi, actually does a pretty good job of keeping track of your orders. And in my case, I tend to pre-order like as soon as like the announcement comes out. And in some cases, like the figure isn't going to be released until like maybe 3, 4 months later, sometimes a year.
Mhm.
I and admittedly, I do forget every now and then that I had pre-ordered something, but what's it called? Like I said, Ami does a good job of tracking things, and you can actually see what you've ordered throughout the year or last year. And I'll usually take like a look to see if anything has been or if I pre-ordered something and it's like, oh, it's coming out in July of this year. Then I would go into my pre-orders and see if anything else that I had pre-ordered is coming out that same month, so that I could combine orders. And then I'll usually be reminded of what I had pre-ordered previously. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's good. I don't have to worry about, like securing one or hunting for one when it releases.
Mhm.
So really, I don't really. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't really keep track of what I pre-order. I'm just reminded of it whenever I make another pre-order, and then I just happen to see, oh, I already pre-ordered this, so I don't have to worry about it again.
So your system really relies on specifically the Ami Ami infrastructure. If you don't pre-order it through Ami Ami and you order it through something else, it could potentially mess up your system.
In some cases, yeah, because in some cases, Almiami either doesn't carry it or it's a very old item that has been released, and I'm probably going to get it used from like another site or anything like that. But I mean, a lot of the stuff that I purchase, I never buy when it's if it's like something that's recently released, I usually have it pre-ordered beforehand if it's something that I really want. Rarely do I ever get anything off the shelf or soon after it's released. I always pre-order my stuff because I
So
know
yeah.
because I know for a fact that I you know that's something that I want. And I
Mm,
in like a lot of cases that I hear from like my from like group members or anything like that, it's like, oh, I pre-ordered it, but then I realized, oh, I don't want it, now I have to find someone who can take over my pre-order or anything. I'll
right.
usually never I will never pull trigger unless I'm know for sure that I really want it.
Mm, okay.
So
So
I'm
that makes a lot of sense,
I
right?
yeah. I'm of the Richard Hammond school of going ugly early.
Okay, that's fair. So has there
Like,
ever been an instance where you didn't like something, and then what did you end up doing with that product? And then I guess how does Gunpla fit into all of this? Because you don't normally buy Gunpla through Ami Ami. So how does
mhm.
your tracking work with Gunpla? And does that mean if you're following this formula essentially, does that mean that you have double up on a lot of Gunpla then? Because you don't really have that same tracking system with your Gunpla collection.
Uh, all right. So to answer your first question, there was one item. It was a transformable Valkyrie from Macross 2 from it was the VF2 SS Valkyrie 2 and this was when Evolution Toy did the very first
Mm.
uh what's it called figure of it. Now previously before Bandai did their high metal R version of the VF2, uh s- Evolution Toy was the only one that had one on the market. So naturally every Macross aficionado was clamoring for it at the time. This was the very first transformable toy of the VF2 that anyone had ever seen on the market, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is history in the making." We've been waiting for this for so long. And then when I finally got my hand on it, it was a piece of shit. The proportions were off. The transforming was gimmicky. It had limited range of movement. The material was so shoddy. And admittedly, this was the first time I had ever heard of the company that made it. So I had my trepidations about it, but at the same time, I'm like, this is probably going to be like the first and last VF2 ever on the market. Previously Bandai did a model kit of it, but that was so hard to find because it was made in like the mid to late 90s and, it was going for a high price. So this is an alternative for me. And right now, I'm sitting right next to it. It's still in like, I displayed it for like maybe like a month or two and then put it away to make room for another Macross figure that I got a few months later. And that was back in, I think, 2015, 2016, and it's been in its box ever since in a dark corner of my closet. Which brings us back to like our hoarding tendencies. Is that while while I haven't like and while it hasn't seen the light of day since then, I can't bring myself to get rid of it.
Mm,
Or rather, I am at a loss of what do to do with it exactly because it's a Macross figure, so it's very niche here. There's only like a select few people or a select few groups of people who would even know what it is, much less care about it. And secondly, it's not like something I can take the book off and you're like, oh, we'll give you like $50 for it.
mm.
And $50 is $50, but compared to how much I paid for it, it's just like that's not really like a good payoff.
Yeah, it's worth more to you than the money that they would potentially give back to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like yes, I did end up getting like the VF2 high metal that Bandai released like a few years later. But at the same time, it's just like it's Macross history. It's something that I'm really interested in and love. So it's like I don't like it's like I don't like it, but if you try to take it away from me, I'll rip your head off.
Okay, cool.
That's kind of mentality about that.
So what about Gunpla then? How do you manage your inventory and your cataloging with Gunpla?
Well, first off, I have you. I don't know now, viewers. I don't know if you noticed, but Steven is very into statistics. He's very into record keeping,
Yes,
and I mean, if he were so inclined, we could probably pull up a picture of the Excel spreadsheet that he has on me.
I've seen
detailing
that
how,
thing.
what models I have, how much they cost, my total what's it, my total cost of all the models that I've had in within like the past 10 years.
To be fair, I have stopped counting. Um, it got scary, so I stopped counting.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
as far as like the yeah, as far as the Gunpla is concerned, because I buy locally, I don't really necessarily buy my model kits from AmiAmi.
yeah,
I think the only kit that I ever got from them was the real grade tall geese after I had trouble finding it here in the States.
really.
But
The tone.
this was when like yeah, the tall geese one. This was when like it first came out and like
Oh,
people
okay.
were like snatching it up left and right.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yes. So like I'm I'm fortunate enough to, here in San Diego, we have a lot of places that actually sell Gunpla, a lot of the local model shops, Gunzo, our affiliate,
Mhm.
and I don't really have to go too far in order to, scratch my Gunpla itch. I mean, I can go here anywhere here in San Diego. I can go to LA. Um, so there really isn't much reason for me to import any Gunpla kits unless it's something that is either A, hard to find, or B, exclusive to Japan.
That's
In that case, like Gundam-based limited stuff or P Bandai, which is like readily available in Japan.
Right. And
And good.
oh, I was gonna say, and with that, uh, we're gonna have an introduction of our sponsor for this video. So if you want to itch that gunpla itch, feel free to check out Gunzo down in downtown San Diego off of Harvey Street. They have a fantastic selection of all sorts of things, from your Japanese novelty toys and plushies to Gunpla and God Hand. So if you are like Gabe and want to support local businesses, go ahead and check out Gunzo. Um, I think they're actually open during most of the COVID stuff. So they're super friendly and they're great people. So please check them out if you get the time. But with that, that I'd say that's a pretty admirable thing that you're going to like these local, shops and stuff to be able to shop around, Gabe. And aside from me helping to catalog your stuff, I guess it doesn't really matter too much if you buy another model kit compared to like another figure, because I guess you can always customize it, or there's a lot of groups and a lot of shops, like you're saying. If there's a lot of shops, there's probably a lot of groups and a lot of people that you could probably offload the kits to, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
I mean, like I could, if I were so inclined, I could even, just put up a listing on our Facebook page, be like, hey, got some backlog that I'm not going to get. I don't think I'm going to be able to go through. Are you guys
second.
interested in any of this?
It'd be gone in a second.
But yeah, it would be gone in a second. Our fellow members are very rabid when it comes to stuff, people selling stuff from their backlog. But going back to what I said earlier, for lack of a better word, I am a hoarder. So unless I really don't have an attachment to it, I probably will keep it. I mean, heck, Walter, you're gonna hate me for this. I have a Gunner Zaku master grade sitting in my backlog, and I still haven't brought myself up to actually get rid of it.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, I
Wait,
can see, like Walter. Yeah,
you want to get rid of a Gunner Zaku?
no, see, that's the thing. I haven't. It's like it may be in my backlog, but I have never given the thought of giving it away. I mean, it was a gift from a family member,
Hmm.
Okay, I'll
and
give you a pass on that one. I'll give you a pass on it.
yeah,
I'm not going to
it was
hold
a
it
gift from a
against you.
family member, and like to be honest, it's not like I don't have like any desire to get rid of it. It's not like I unwrapped it, saw what it was, and then immediately like put on 6 pairs of rubber gloves and held it between my pinky and thumb into like a corner of my room and dumped it over there. But it's like it's been sitting in my backlog for so long that It's like if at first glance you think I'm like ignoring it on purpose, but
Mhm.
I'm not. I've just never got around to building it, or yeah, hell, like I'm most of my GMs are still in their boxes.
I mean, I'll help you build them if you want. If that's really the thing. I'll help you build them.
It's m- it's more like the motivation.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm sure we'll get into it later, but because I'm now part of the workforce and I'm not in school.
Mhm.
Like when I was in school, that was when the majority of like a lot of my gunball building and obsession came from. But now that I'm working, like I don't want to like come home from work and like sit down at my table and start filing away at pieces. Even though that is relaxing, it's just like it's like I'd rather be doing something else than like sitting at my desk. So
Yeah. For the lack of a better term, your time is just more valuable now.
yeah,
Yeah. So then
to put it bluntly.
yeah, right, exactly. So it sounds like the magic of your formula, or like how Gabe works with this whole minimalist thing, is you need to know exactly what you want. And because you know exactly what you want, you can pre-order the stuff. And then because you can pre-order the stuff, you can use your invoices in order to track what things you actually have through AmiAmi. But then Gunpla wise, you really just kind of look at the stuff that you really like on the spot. So, same condition as the other, as AmiAmi. But then if you happen to buy something that you don't want, you can always offload it to one of the group members later on. That's in general how I'm interpreting how your cataloging, collecting, and you know, hoarding mentality kind of works.
I think he's having audio problems.
Possibly. So now would be a really good time to throw in that advertisement for Gunzo. Gunzo is a great local shop where you can go and visit for all of your Gunpla fixes. Please check them out. They are a super great little store. And Chika-san, the owner and manager of the facility, is a fantastic lady that's willing to help you with any of your Gunpla or Japanese novelty needs. For modelers, I think what's really great is that they have God hands. you know, Walter here has a collection of God hands that he's personally using. And, he absolutely loves it. But it sounds like Gabe's back on and his audio is possibly working now.
Yep. Sorry, you got. I think I froze on that last bit.
Yeah,
No
no
worries.
problem. So, but yeah, so it's back to what our conversation was. It sounds like that's kind of like your magic formula for how you treat figures and how you treat Gundam model kits, and how that kind of works out.
Yeah.
So,
It's
uh,
it's
yes.
it, sorry, just one last thing. It's basically with Gunpla. It's good to see. It's good that I get my stuff locally because at least I get to see what's available and I can see what I want rather
Mhm,
than uh rather than having to be like, all right, I definitely want this. Oh, I don't want that, and then
mhm,
having to pre-order and cementing myself.
gotcha. So all of these same questions, but for Walter.
Oh God.
So let's get things started, right? How do you
Uh,
catalog things when you have so many Miku things available, right? And then I know you may not just collect only Miku things, you also collect other things as well, kind of like how Gabe collects Nendroids and Macross stuff,
right.
and maybe doesn't specifically go through Ami Ami. So how's your cataloging system work? And then
So
how does that work for Gunpla?
so to answer the question, I used to have a cataloging system. I used to have a spreadsheet and a picture guide of saying this is what I had. That got unmanageable at a certain point because I just had so much I just didn't keep up with it. So now it's just more of a I think I have it, so I won't get it. Or, oh shit, I don't have it. I'll get it. And then I go back through while I'm packing things or organizing things like, oh shit, I did have it. Hey, Meg Chad, do you want a Miku figure that I accidentally got two of? Um, so that's the kind Mike, I'm so bad at it. And me and Meg have come to the decision that one of these days that we're both going to sit down, and because she's really good at the like digital presentation of things and so on, that she's going to help me actually actively catalog them. But it's a project for a future date for a future both of us that isn't right now. Um, so I don't really track anything right now. I don't track it anymore. I used to track my pre-orders just so I would make sure that I knew when they were due for payment. But now it's like I don't even do that. When it comes to Gunpla, I get most of my Gunpla through P Bandai now or Ami Ami. So if it's there, I'll get it. If I miss it, I miss it. There's been two things that I've missed so far that's kind of aggravating. I missed the RG Wing Gundam, which I'm still seething about. I'm going to have to wait until it's released out in the wild. And I also missed the Metal Build Dynamis Repair 3, which I am, oh god, I'm so aggravated about.
Womp womp.
Yeah.
So now that I know you have a storage facility here in the United States, what I can do is I can buy the metal build Dynamis for you,
Mm-hmm.
and I can drop it off at your storage place.
Oh, Steven the crack dealer doing what he does best.
Yeah. Well, I kind of offer the same thing when I tell you guys if you want anything for Japan, so it's the same.
That's true, right? But
Yep.
I know what you want now, so
Yeah. So I don't
I was
really
actually
have a
really
system.
curious, right? Like, so for your Miku cataloging system, have you ever tried using like myfigurecollection.net? Like, how do you guys feel about
So
that online database?
I'm
there
actually
is a
on there, to be
yeah, there
honest.
is a point that
Oh,
I was starting one up. The problem is I started up too late and I wasn't near
mhm.
my collection to actually start cataloging.
Wait,
So
what?
it's like, so I started it when I got here to Japan. So
Right.
I can't catalog anything technically that I have back in the States because I don't remember what I
Oh,
have exactly in the back in the States.
that's
And
not
there's,
true because Gabe and I can help you out with that.
well, yeah, you could.
Yeah. Yeah. See, there you go.
Good.
You guys want to go through
But
1,000 boxes?
it'll be a spring cleaning project that we'll take care of. Or if you want to use our space eventually,
Mhm.
then we could easily catalog it for you.
That would be nice, yeah.
So,
But
but basically, Gabe, you use myfigurecollection.net, but Walter, you don't really use it because you felt like it didn't make sense to start a catalog since half of
so,
your collection.
well, so at the time, I, Gabe, you'll probably hate me for this. I didn't pay attention to my figure collection at all. I didn't pay attention to that
Don't.
website.
Mhm.
It was more of an afterthought when someone told me about it, and I started seeing, oh yeah, you could use it to track your collection. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I wouldn't have to worry about updating my freaking Excel spreadsheet that I have that's already like a billion cells long with all the shit I got. That would be much easier. So I started it when I was way too late in the game, and I didn't know what the hell I had anyway. So it got to the point where it's like, I'm not even going to try right now.
Yeah, and admittedly, like I've kind of fallen off the My Figure website. Like I haven't really updated my profile and like how think I started it back in like 2013, and I haven't really touched it since. So if I were to go into it and try to catalog my figure collection as it is now, I'd probably be spending like the next week and a half on it just updating everything.
So I tried to use myfigurecollection.net, but they don't really have a lot of model kits on here. Or at least when I was trying to do it, they didn't really have that many model kits on here. So I felt it very cumbersome to try to, kind of sift through everything and try to find, what I was looking for so I can just, click the yes, I have this button.
Yeah, I think that's an unfortunate thing for that site is it's specifically targeted and tailored for scale figure or
Scale
Nindroid.
figures.
Now,
Yeah.
that would be a good concept for someone out there in the audience or the community to maybe put together a website for tracking models, not just Gunpla, but maybe Macross
Right.
models or whatnot. That could be our go-to tracking method for what we have. Something similar to that My Anime List, but for Gunpla collectors.
Yeah. No, that'd be really nice. I've been really hoping that something with like that, like an interactive database,
Mhm.
right, that has the complete list of. I mean, if Bandai's listening to this, right, like this would be super simple. Just make an active database, a live database that constantly updates with all the stuff that you have, all the promo shots, whatever, that people can interact with and say, I have this, or I want this, or I
Mhm.
blah blah blah, whatever, right? I think that would be super simple and very convenient for the Gunpla model kit community. But yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So then, Walter, like, I'm still trying to get over the storage stuff, man. Uh,
You're never
so
going to
okay,
get over it.
actually, here's an interesting question. So you said Megumi, your wife, also collects
Mhm.
things too.
Yes.
What does she collect? Does she collect figures as well?
So it depends on her fancy. Right now, she hasn't been focusing on otaku stuff. Um,
Hmm.
she's been focusing more on like makeup things. But every now and then, when I see something that she likes from an anime or whatnot,
Hmm.
no spoilers, but her birthday present's on the way. That she knows her birthday present's on the way. She doesn't know what it is, but it's from something
Right.
she likes. You're going to be editing
Okay.
this later. I'm thinking, what is it? Don't worry, you'll find out in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Um, it's every time I see something for her that I know she likes,
Mhm.
I'm going to get it for her. And then we end up storing it until we've come to an agreement that when we get a big enough place, either here in Japan or back in the States, we're going to have a joint room with a bunch of cases and we're going to set up both of our collections for display. And she's going to have equal square footage along with my collection to display all the figures I've ever gotten her or all the figures she got before when she was collecting them on her own.
Mhm.
So she has very similar figure collection tastes to me.
Big
So
old pie.
yeah, and to say the least, yes.
Yeah. Let's just be transparent. So,
Yeah,
which is
that's true.
which is good, right?
Yeah.
So what I was kind of wondering about was one example that you said that
Mhm.
you bought a figure, you happen to have a second one, but then you were like, "Hey Meg, do you want this?"
Mhm.
And like, how does
And
that work?
so that
Because
bring
you
yeah,
both kind of jointly own everything that you have.
right. So it's funny that you asked that because we recently had a discussion about that. So anytime I give her a second Miku, she likes it. She accepts it. She's like, "Yeah, I'll take it."
Mm.
But the back of her head is like, "I don't need it. I want to sell it." So she's willing
Right.
to sell my second stuff. I kind of guilt trip her. I'm kind of the bad guy in this. Is I guilt trip her into saying, "Hey, that's a present from me. I may have fucked up. Part of my language. I may have screwed up and bought it twice, but it's a present. You should keep it." And she like looks at me like, "Why? I can just sell it." Like, no, it's a
Yeah.
present. So we had that discussion a few weeks ago, and for the most part, she's keeping them. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm not going to stop her now anymore. If I do end up getting a second figure and I give it to her, if she wants to sell it, she's more than willing, more than within her right to sell what I give her if she wants it.
I mean, if I was her, I would just say, "Okay, I will keep the one that you gave me, so let's sell yours."
I'm not selling mine. No, different. No, 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 no,
Because
no, no.
Well,
you jointly
Doesn't
own
s-
everything, right?
that's
So,
yeah.
true.
What's hers
That's
is
tr-
what's like what's yours is hers, and what's your hers is there.
also
That
but
her.
whole thing.
I've created
Also
the
hers.
first I've created the first set of attachments that I can't get rid of when I buy it for myself unless I screw up. And when I screw up, then I delete the attachment to it.
Right, I
Well, you
guess.
know what they say. You know what they say, Walter. Happy wife, happy life. And right now, Miku's not happy.
Oh, come
There you go.
on. I have to devote
So
my
that's
life to my wife first. She's number one, then Miku. I'm sorry. Okay?
yeah, so you can sell the other
Oh,
Miku, right?
oh! I thought Miku was the
Oh
waifu
god.
before. Isn't that what you
Uh
said like 2 years ago? Miku's
Meg,
the waifu.
Right?
Meg, Meg, you know where you fall. We know where Miku falls. We're not going to go any further than that, please. I don't want to sleep out on the
Hey, I'm
balcony.
no, no, no. Hey, I'm on your side, man. I'm saying Meg is first. So she gets to keep the Miku that you gave her, right? That's all solved. And then she also gets to sell the extra. So everybody's happy. You still have a copy in your family, and she's still keeping the gift that you so graciously gave her. It works.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, it
See,
does.
as
That works.
as the bachelor of the trio, I'm just busting your balls.
I know,
Yeah,
but
we're just trying to help you out, man. But
I
yeah, so
appreciate it.
it's kind of interesting. So like, what do you do with boxes and stuff like that, right? Like, what do you do with kits and things that you don't want? I know in Japan it might be a little bit different because, like, for example, here we kind of have like loose communities, but for the most
So,
part, if we don't want something, we just return it.
so for here in Japan, it's actually a great sellers market.
Mm,
I mean,
Yes.
when coronavirus wasn't the thing right now, you could walk up to Akihabara and you can go to any one of the major shops or even some of the smaller places, and you could
mhm.
say you could hand them. Like I had a few things that I did want to sell. I had a few kits that I wanted to sell, and I had bought in a few extra Mikus that Meg didn't want that I ended up selling. Um, and they took them. I got them. I got a good price for them. So that is a feasible option here in Japan. As far as about boxes, like I said, I don't throw them away because I have to keep them for shipping purposes. So
Right.
they end up, and since I don't display any of my figures here right now, all their figures are wrapped pristinely in their boxes right now, sitting in a storage unit, sitting back in the states in the storage back back in the states, sitting in my hallway still in their boxes. I've only got maybe one Miku figure displayed right now, and that's a Miku figure that sits on my desk at work. And it's a noodle
Mm.
topper. That's it. It's a Miku noodle topper. And that the only reason why I unpacked that one is because it could sit on my computer and look like it's sitting. Oh no, I take it back. I've got two. I've got a second figure that sits that's right next to my computer. So those are the only two figures I have out. And their boxes are in a drawer taking up space in my desk. So I did not throw the boxes away for those either.
So I'm really confused. Not really exactly confused, but I'm really interested in the differences between you and Gabe because Gabe right now is displaying everything, right?
Mhm.
And I'm sure that if Gabe you ever needed to move, you will figure it out. Like you'll hand wrap each one in like newspaper or something like that. Throw them into a big box or bin. But Walter, I'm surprised to hear that basically you have one figure for two
Mhm.
figures that are actually out of the box. So with your 600 square foot home, there's maybe a lot of Miku product that is around the house, but
Mhm.
not Miku figures.
Yep,
So
that is
then, is
true.
it the same thing for your Gunpla figure or for your Gunpla model kits as well? Like, do you mostly just build them and then put them back in the box?
Do I even build Gunpla? That's the biggest question.
I would argue
um,
yes. I'm looking at your desk right now, and there's
yeah,
runners on there.
yeah. I have one Gunpla built. There's one that's getting queued to be built. I'm gonna turn into a project on my Facebook page, and possibly into a YouTube video. So
Right.
when I'm normally typically done with my Gunpla, it goes, unless I plan on displaying it for long term, it goes into a box. When I was back in San Diego, all my Gunpla went to work with me and I displayed it at my desk. And it was a conversation starter for everyone that walked by my desk, like, oh, what the heck is that? Is that a transformer or whatnot? And I'd be able to spark a
That
conversation with
age-old
them.
question.
Yeah. I'd be able to I'd be able to spark the conversation, educate them, and say, hey, if you're ever interested, here are some places you could go to maybe explore the hobby itself. You don't have to start it, but explore it.
Mm,
And I
right.
and I got a few people interested into it that way.
That's awesome, man.
So,
So
but
sounds like it actually really sounds like from the way you're describing things is that work is the primary place where you display your stuff,
mhm,
not necessarily the house.
yep.
House is where you store your stuff.
Mhm. Um,
Mm,
so back in the States, that's back in the States is when I would primarily display all my Mikus because I had a bunch of display cases to do that. Here in
mhm.
Japan, those display cases take up a lot of space. And for my collection, that amount of space is finite to display
Right.
it. Meg makes the conversation, makes the joke every time. We need our own house for your entire collection, and I don't disagree with her there. We would need an entire maybe one K or 1D house, one room house, a studio or something to
So
display my
sorry, what do you mean
entire.
by 1D or 1K?
Oh, so in Japan, they've labeled their houses based on the dining room, kitchen, and living room. So when you say a 1 LDK, that's a 1 bedroom with a living room, dining room, and a kitchen. A 3 LDK is a 3 bedroom, living room, dining room, and kitchen. So I have a 3 LDK apartment.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Cool.
Um, but she always makes that joke, and
Mm,
I won't lie, I would, being the kind of person I am, buy a studio, set it up with display cases and like lights and like backgrounds to the cases and display every single one of my Miku figures like that. Like the idea you brought up of making it a museum. And
right.
that would be like the ultimate thing to do for me.
Right.
Are
So,
you
okay,
laughing,
I
Gabe?
have a
Are you laughing? You are laughing.
I thought I was being quiet. I'm sorry.
no, Gabe is being giddy. That's what he's being. He's being
Kidding.
giddy. He's excited for you, Walter. Okay, so I have a kind of embarrassing question then to ask you guys then.
Oh.
General storage for like other stuff. Like how does that even work then? If you have like, you know, like a, like for example, Gabe, you have 100 square foot room. You had a wall of boxes. Walter, you have a 600 square foot home or apartment, and you have tons of stuff there. But then you also have a storage unit. Blah blah blah. So the thing that I am like thinking about is like, well, what do you do with things like your old schoolwork or your tax forms or your clothes or like other like cleaning utensils or I have tons of stuff that actually take up probably more space than my hobby stuff. Just general
So
books that you've kept over the years,
yeah,
memories.
this will
What are these
be
clothes you speak of?
yeah. This is going to be very telling for my nature. I think Gabe said it
Yeah,
earlier
I
too.
think. I think Steven is just trying to expose us for the scumbags that we are.
I'm
Yeah, yeah, I
no,
think he
no, no, no. That's
is,
not what I'm not trying to
but
do that.
I'm
So,
I'm willing to step out there and admit I save
ah,
boxes.
yeah,
I do
yes,
save boxes again because I move around a lot. I'm a government
mhm,
employee, so there's always an opportunity for me to move. So I have to have the means to pack my things up, and I
mhm,
generally want to take care of the things I have. So I've got a nice big screen TV out there. I've got 4 monitors, 3 for myself, 1 for my wife. I still have all the boxes for that. I have the boxes for my computers. I have the boxes for my wife's iMac. I have boxes for clothes when I need to pack them up. I have so much general stuff that also goes into storage, or I find nooks and crannies to put it in because I need to be able to keep those materials to pack things up. I'm
right.
also a bit OCD, so and this goes to
Mm,
the opposite end. My wife's not OCD, so we kind of conflict in that nature of
oh,
I try to keep things organized, but
mhm,
she's not on her end in the mindset of doing that. Not to say she's disorganized, but she just it's not a primary thought in her head. I'm trying I try to keep things like in areas of like it needs to be looking like this or stacked like this, and it drives her insane. Her lack of it drives me insane. But
would you say that, like, the reason for that is because you would arguably have more stuff that you personally own than she personally owns?
100% yes, I have way more stuff than her.
Okay. Because
I
I
know I do.
also noticed that between the 2 of us, like, for Sunny and myself, like, I'm also the same way. Like, I need my stuff to be in a very specific way, and, like, I need to have it, organized in a very particular way. But
Mhm.
it's also because I own more stuff than
Yeah.
Sunny does. And so for her, it doesn't matter if, things are a little bit disorganized because it takes like 3 minutes for you to put it back together. But then for me, because
Mhm.
I have so much stuff stuffed into like boxes, I literally have a stack of Pokemon cards like right next to me. I have like Yu-Gi-Oh
Mhm.
cards that are right under my desk. If they're not in the specific locations, like I will misplace something and I'll be like, well, now my order's all mixed up. I need to spend another hour trying to organize everything.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I won't go too much more into it, but I probably have more stuff that I don't really need to hang on to than I should, but I have it because I'm kind of a hoarder in the sense.
right.
But I mean, there does come a point when I do clean it out and get rid of it. So at the end of the day, it eventually gets finds its way to another home or somewhere else. But most of my stuff is in a storage unit or in a hallway or in a closet or another person's basement.
So would you also say that you have a lot more stuff currently in your house because, well, you don't really live at home anymore, right? But Megumi
Mhm.
arguably is fairly close to her own childhood home. So I imagine she probably has stuff there still.
So the answer is very small. She has very minimal amount of things at her parents' house up in Fukushima. Anything that she
Mm.
has here is from her home in Tokyo when she was living on her own.
Oh,
And most
okay.
of that stuff she wants to get rid of or sort through. Um,
Oh,
so there are again, I believe the majority of what is in our house right now are either things that we need to sort through or things that are just needing to be removed from the house. There's a bunch of stuff I want to take to the storage unit. I don't drive over here, so it's we have to walk it to the storage unit, or I have to ask a
oh my
friend
gosh.
to drive it to the storage unit because the storage unit's maybe like a 1.5 kilometer drive from us. So it's not
Oh,
that
okay.
far. It's not that far, but it's still a distance to have to walk all that stuff there and then walk back.
So to give our viewers an idea, you don't have a car, right?
No. It's
Right.
just too much for me to drive in Japan. It's too crazy.
Yeah. So you have to either walk everything, or you have to ask somebody, or you might have to, is there a U-Haul service in
No.
Japan? So you
No.
can't like rent a truck or something like that.
You could rent a truck from a rental car place, but you have to have a Japanese license or an international license to do so.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So, yeah, because I'm really trying to bring this up, not to shame everybody. God, guys, like, but because I was genuinely curious of like, you look at these picturesque hobby desks or rooms, right? And then like the first thing that I usually look at, like around my room, is like, oh well, I have this giant box of like important documents or like school stuff. Where's theirs? Or like, where are their freaking clothes, man. Like, some of their closets are so like, packed full of stuff that you're just like, well, where do you keep like, umbrellas, or, where do you keep like, spare cans of
Yeah.
food or like
I
whatever?
I definitely think it's harder for Gabe because he's living with his entire family. So he
Right.
has to
Yeah.
prioritize. You Gabe are the true champion. You have to prioritize more than I do, I feel.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the best way that I can describe it is I have 34 years of crap stuffed into a 100 square foot room that I have to manage and deal with. And I will admit it's not easy sometimes. Before like this past weekend's cleanup, it was literally just like the majority of like my floor space was just covered with Nendo boxes that I haven't disposed of, boxes storing other boxes, uh,
Yeah.
various like trash and whatnot, or stuff that I haven't thrown away yet. So it was literally walking into a room was like walking into a closet.
I was gonna
So
say, Gabe, how often do you forget to open boxes that you get from Ami Ami? Because I do that all the time. I'll get a shipment and it just sits there for months, and then I see it. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is. I can't remember what that
oh,
order was.
I don't
It's
think
like
that's
no,
ever happened to me.
it's like I'll open my shipments as soon as I receive them,
Hmm.
and I'll take out the items and admire them, but I'll never open them and display them until like I get that itch to do so.
Hmm.
So in like the past year, like all the shipments that I got from Ami Ami were literally just sitting on my floor, and I was stacking things on top of them.
Oh
And
wow.
like, yeah, and like it got to the point where I'm like, oh, like crap, I'm gonna have to do something about this, or else I'm gonna have to like start kicking down my door in order to in order to get into my room.
Gee.
I guess like, I'm not proud to admit this, but sometimes I think I'm like a borderline hoarder. And in effect, most collectors are kind of borderline hoarders.
I mean, yeah, I admit that too, and I've always kind of wondered about that about myself as well, because when I see other people like Sunny, who doesn't really have that much stuff, and I look at all the stuff that I collect, I feel like I'm kind of a hoarder too.
Hmm.
Like I always have tried to figure out like, well, what's the right balance, right? Because like, you know, I think the biggest question in my head that usually that pops up is, what if I need this in the future? Or like, what's the value of this later on in the future? Like, how expensive is it going to be for me to have to rebuy or reacquire whatever I'm getting rid of?
Yeah.
And like that, that's the question that really eats up most of my time. And so I end up just saying like, oh, I might as well just keep this. And then my collection grows, and then like I end up having things from like my childhood, from like the age of like 5, and I'm like, well, do I really need this? Yeah, but it could be useful. Who knows?
That was my problem. That was my problem mentality with what's it called, Gunpla.
Mm.
especially ones that are like variations of like an established kit. So they usually have what's it called, spare runners with like with like full racks of parts for like the original
We
uh
Yeah.
for like
we
the
need to get
original.
Michael on for one of these because he's the master of variations for
Oh my
certain
Yeah.
gosh.
type of
All the
kits.
Zakus he has. Like,
Oh
what does
my
he? Yeah,
god.
what does he do with all the
We
spare stuff? Like, how does
we
he
have to get
keep?
him on here. We have to find a way to get him on now.
I mean, to be honest, for like with the amount of Zakus that they built, you could probably build another Zaku out of all the
Yeah,
spare parts.
exactly. He can continuously build an army of Zaku's for all the different variations he has.
I mean, to be fair, right? Does or I mean, the actual question is, does he even keep those parts?
Yeah, he does.
Right? He
I've
Yeah.
keeps.
seen him keep
Well,
the parts. Yeah, he does.
Oh,
I don't know if
that's
all
he
the more
does
reason to move
now.
on.
Yeah, I'm sending him a message now.
but yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
it.
it's like it got to the like back to the question that it got to the point where I actually found like a gallon Ziploc bag full of polycaps.
A gallon?
Gallon bag,
That,
gallon like a freezer Ziploc bag
that's crazy, man.
full of polycaps, and I'm like, I don't know what I don't. It's like I don't know what drove me to like save the polycaps. Like, oh, maybe like a foot joint is gonna wear out in the future. Oh, I'll have a polycap that I can replace it with later on. But that's like,
Right.
really? Do I need all these?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's like my main problem with with like my Gunpla box conundrum because they all store the spare parts, and I'm like, am I going to need these spare parts, or can I just toss them and
Mm,
and be done with them?
right.
Because half the
That's
time, like, because half the time, like after I build a Gunpla, it'll immediately go onto my shelf and just be displayed as is, and all the parts will stay in the box and like
Mhm.
in the pile.
mhm,
Not in like, and I'll often forget that, oh, it came with like, 6 pairs of hands or something, or a
mm,
back cannon that I never got to, or a shield that I never got to build.
yeah.
And then like, what if like, oh, it's like I don't need all this, and like I toss them away, and I'm like, oh, hey, my GM sniper too. Oh, I wonder if it came with like a rifle or a shield. Oh, it did. Where is it? Oh crap, I threw them away.
Mm,
Yeah, for like the longest time, that was my mentality about saving all my runners in my boxes. But then
Yeah, I think
like later on down the line, like I need to get rid of these. So
yeah. In a lot of the kits that I have back in the states, the ones that I didn't sell that weren't open, you'll find a small little Ziploc bag with all the extra stuff still on their sprues and on the runners, just clipped out, put in that bag with the instructions inside the box and the model there, and be like, that's how I store. That's how it's permanently going to stay because I'll probably never set it up again at this point.
mm. So I think for me, what I usually do is I actually cut out every single piece from the runner, and I normally toss the runner. I build whatever I need to build, whatever is part of the instructions, and then I will stick all the spare parts into, including the accessories, into one bag, and then the Gundam, the main body, into another. And that usually cuts down like on a lot of space, especially if I'm throwing all of these bags into like a single, like like a mega size box or like a master grade size box. Um, and that way but at the same point, right? Like I pose it usually in one way, and
Mhm.
I never use any of the other accessories. Um, but yeah, so I think it's a struggle, trying to do all this and being a collector and trying to manage things like the space that you have. So we're really curious, honestly, to see what other people might want to say about this topic down in the comments below. And we're really interested in seeing what you all have to say. But what we really want to say is thank you so much for viewing this video and being with us throughout this entire time. So thank you so much to our guest today, Gabe. Mystery Man Gabe. Thank you to Walter for all of his logistical know-how, and thank you for Megumi for all of the editing that she's going to be doing tirelessly tonight. You know, direction and all that type of operations is done by yours truly. Thank you again to our sponsor for today's video, Gunzo. Feel free to check them out. In the description below, we have a couple of hyperlinks to their stores. And if you guys have any last things to say, um, let's
Yeah, the only things
close
is
things up.
yeah, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and follow us on all of our other social media spots.
That's correct. We're on Discord. We're on Facebook. We're on we on Spotify now. We're on
We're on
Apple.
Spotify. Yeah. Yep.
We're on Apple now. So
Google, Anchor, what else?
all sorts of stuff. But
Yeah.
if you really want to keep following us here on YouTube, do what Walter says: like and subscribe to the video,
And hit the bell.
check the little bell for alerts and notifications. I can't believe I'm saying this sentence because I hear it all the dang time. So thank you very much for everyone who's been watching us tonight, and we hope you all have a great rest of the day.
Peace, everyone.